Breaking news, ladies and gentlemen, breaking news. China just brokered an historical truce between Saudi Arabia and Iran. Ladies and gentlemen, breaking news. Greetings, greetings, and salutations, ladies and gentlemen. You know it's your favorite Jamaican. I'm Rastafari Soldier here of Deep Roots TV, and it's a breaking news. On the international front, China just brokered a historical truce between Saudi Arabia and Iran, ladies and gentlemen. I'm talking about they have come to a peace talk in the pantheon of the intractable viscera of conflict. The feud between Iran and Saudi Arabia, ladies and gentlemen, is at the pantheon of this feud. Now, rooted in democracy and doctrines, democratic doctrines are emerged in historical wages via proxy across the Middle East. So, as a way of establishing the peace building corp, it is not a bad place to start. China have just established what America could not have done for the last 7 years. Friday Agreement signed in Beijing and re-established diplomatic relations between Tehran and Riyadh. After 7 years of bitter rancor has cast China in an unfamiliar role as global truce-broker. It is a development that is significant, ladies and gentlemen, as President Xi Jinping new willingness to leave the economic clout and the third-party negotiation, thereby explicitly rejecting the former reformist leader Deng Xiaoping. Now, a non-interventionist mantra, hide your strategies, bide your time. Now, Xi appear to have personally played a part in the brokerage of Iran and Saudi deal, visiting the Saudi capital December and hosting Iran president in Beijing last month. The question now is whether China is willing to step up and play a central role negotiating settlement in Russia and Ukraine conflict. On Tuesday, the Wall Street Journal reported that Xi is due to have a video call with Ukraine President Volodymyr Zelensky, their first direct conversation since Russia invaded more than a year ago. After the first meeting with Russia counterpart Vladimir Putin in Moscow, possibly as early as next week. Now you hear what I want. The mere fact that China is involved in this itself is mind-breaking. The news is reporting that China has brokered a deal. Iran and Saudi Arabia. It's a historic event. The paper continued to say the mere fact that China is involving itself in a different conflict and trying to affect such peace deal is a significant development, says Jonathan Sullivan, Director of China Program and the Asian Research Institute of UK, Nottingham University. Maybe, just maybe, China feels the time is right to put its diplomatic and economic clout behind the rhetoric. Now, ladies and gentlemen, until now, me never hear nothing rhetorical from China about the whole situation that's been going on in Iran and Saudi Arabia. Now, neither in Ukraine, because from what I've heard China said, it's time for us to try to go to peace. Until now, the rhetoric is all Beijing had to offer. With great fanfare, Beijing announced last month that it would unveil a peace proposal to end the war in Ukraine. But the 12-point plan was not reasonable. It's a mix of platitudes such as cease hostility and improve humanitarian conditions alongside the, by now, obligation rebuilt of the United States of the Cold War mentality, according to the Maria Shogun, the senior fellow specialist in the economy of sanction standards and strategy and the International Institute of Strategic Study. China folded the peace plan for its own sake rather than for some guarantee mediation. Now, however, the Iran-Saudi deal has promoted a recalibration of those talks. The two Gulf countries are historic rivals due to the different interpretation of the Quran and have been especially a long loggerhead after the Iran 1979 revolution ushered in Shia Muslim theocracy. They served several ties in 2016 after Saudi Arabia executed the proclamation Shia school, while their competing share of the influence manifested in bloody conflict in Syria, Lebanon, and elsewhere. The 8-year Yemen war, in particular, is being fought between Tehran-backed Houthi rebel and a military coalition led by Riyadh in support of the government. Still, negotiations between Iran and Saudi Arabia have been ongoing since 2021, chiefly in Iraq and Oman. Though talks recently broke down, it was during Xi December's visit to Riyadh. Tehran-based politician journalist Saeed Azimi writes from the Stimson Center, and Saudi Arabia asked China to assume a mediator role to suggest that Xi and Iraq both accepted. Following Friday's announcement, China top diplomat Wang Yi said the deal demonstrates that Beijing is a reliable mediator that had fully fulfilled and faithful that is duty to the host and the Chinese community. The Communist Party of Talib and the Global Times sequently talked up that Iran-Saudi deal was evidence Beijing could play a decisive role in Ukraine. Yet, as deeply entrenched as the anxiously and anxiety between Tehran and Riyadh, the fact that talks were ongoing set the deal apart from Ukraine, where missile attacks and casualties mount daily. True, Beijing does have significant leverage over Moscow, as West sanctions have bitten. China trade with Russia hits a record high level of 190 billion in 2022, a 30% year-on-year rise. Whether Xi is willing to use this to force Putin into a corner is a huge question. Another is whether Zelensky is willing to counterance or to settle to give up any territory, something the former comedian has repeatedly ruled out. Indeed, best place to broker a peace if is willing and able to play honest broker, China is the right place. Now, people, can you believe China, the hated China that everybody's been alienated, has brokered a peace deal in the Middle East? For sure you say, enough time you hear them talk about peace, the people them that's talking about peace really don't want peace. Some of them are liars, enough of them are thieves. Because here is China that has been alienated by the West, went into the East, lined up with two long time war enemies, religious enemies, socio-economic ideology enemies, and here they have broken the deal. Say we can be different and we can get together. More life, more joy. Bless up all the peoples them that are for peace. Because of one love, we say any day, any minute, love your brother, love your sister. Anytime, any atmosphere, any location, any latitude or longitude, any weather. Love each other. I'm Rastafari Soldier here of Deep Roots TV. China has played peacemaker between Iran and Saudi Arabia. I'm Rastafari Soldier. Hit that red subscribe button. More life, more joy, more peace round the world.
Pick up Deep Roots TV. Tap in. Deep Roots TV. You already know what it is.
So from them mix with the fire, them have to mix with the lightning. Them mix with the lightning, them have to mix with the thunder. Them mix with the thunder, them got to mix with the world. And they so black people I put the wicked them under. Hey Babylon, me see them a fret and them a wonder. Who flashy lightning and who roll the thunder? Deep Roots flashy lightning and him roll the thunder. Babylon, me see that them a panda. Look how much of the youth them will them shut and kill, look how much them put under. How much of the youth them will them send a dove cut ya. Where Babylon the fire burn no longer. Babylon Deep Roots full of say you can't turn ya. Fire king, Rastaman and a real fire king. Boy, fire king, Rastafari Soldier, real fire king. Yeah, balang bang bang, I can't wait.